Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Clues, Cues and Reviews, and we're talking about Black Clover 126. Exciting for many different reasons. One, because it's Black Clover and the chapter was brilliant. Two, because if those who aren't aware, who should be aware what we're doing, the anime is actually coming out very soon. It should be coming out, I believe the first episode is on the 2nd of October or the 3rd. It'll be a Tuesday if I remember correctly. Now it's weird because it's going to come out 6 p.m. Japanese time, which is like 9 a.m. if I remember correctly our time, as in UK time, and then it's probably like 3 in the morning American time, so something like that. That being said, because of when it comes out, the timing is going to be done in line with how I release these videos. So hopefully, this is the one I want to really do because Black Clover has been near and dear to my heart. It's one of those things that I've been following, reviewing. When a lot of these big reviews haven't really been talking about it in a positive light. They've been copying it Naruto, they're calling it copy of Naruto, and they've been just kind of putting it down. Now that it's gained traction, we're really going to see a lot of these people that were out there who supposedly review mangas, all of a sudden jump on the bandwagon and make it out to be the next big thing, and they always loved it and they always followed it when really they don't talk about it. That being said, plenty to look forward to. Chapter 126, let's get into it. So, let's talk about this chapter. So, there's a few things to kind of take into consideration with this, especially because these are scanlation reviews and not the official actual translation, which comes out on Monday. So take some of this with a pinch of salt, and I'll explain as I'm going along what you want to consider with it. But we've really got a 2-point chapter with this one. What I mean by 2 points, there's two main things that happens in this, other than the little tidbits that are hilarious. So the first part I'm going to cover is the flashback, and then I'll talk about the intricate points of the current chapter that just made me laugh, blew my mind, and got me excited. So the premise of the chapter, the flashback, is about Finral and Langris's background there, the way they grew up. We had tidbits in previous chapters about it, about how, you know, Langris, the younger brother, I hate his name, I don't really want to know his name, but he was like the chosen one. He was doing so well, he was good at studying, he was good at magic, and finally, you know, Finral didn't really do that. He didn't want to hurt people, and he's quite a nice boy. So he was kind of badmouthed by his family, he was kind of put to a side, and, you know, Finral kind of left anyway. So he was the next heir to the throne for the Vord family, I guess an heir of nobility, and we saw that. Now, what's interesting about this flashback is they do two different translations. In one translation, it's kind of like, he's no son of mine, Finral, and in another translation it's like, oh, the other son. Whichever way you look at the translation, essentially he's not seen in a positive light in his own family by his mother. They want, you know, the younger brother to do well, and that's how he starts. We're introduced to a female character who is going to be the fiance of the next head of the family, and we see the different perspectives. We see that Finral's like, oh my god, she's cute and, you know, fine, and then we get the whole Langris thing where she's like a bother. We find out that she's also from a noble family, and she's got this latent powers, and she's got quite a good magic background, but she's got this disease where she stays inside. Then we see this whole thing where essentially she's spending time with Finral. Again, it's another point. In one of the translations, it says that she believes he is the stronger magician between the two, and then his brother has this inferiority complex, and he's like outraged that people think he's, you know, weaker than his older brother. And then in another translation, the difference in the translation is Gemini Box and Manga Stream, by the way. In the second translation, it says that she thinks he's a more wonderful magician, which I think holds closer to what I think would be true. I haven't really seen the raw, and I don't know Japanese, but that kind of sits more well with me. He's a more wonderful person, therefore his magic is more wonderful and how he uses it. That being said, we get to see this come out of the flashback, and then the real magic happens. So I like the idea that we've seen this background. I hope we get this with a lot more of the characters, but I like the idea this chapter doesn't end the battle. We are going to get more chapters on this. I'm hoping for at least 3, so if this is 1, I'm hoping for 2 more. But yeah, a brilliant flashback. Sad, and you know, this makes you root for Finral. This makes you hate his younger brother even more so. But hey, good start to the chapter. So point number 2. It'll be a short one compared to the other points, but the battle really starts. We get back to the current time and we find out something interesting. We find out spatial magic cancels out spatial magic. So in a sense, they're kind of the perfect opposites for each other. Like Asta's kind of the perfect opposite for everybody. These two brothers, being spatial magic users, are the perfect opposites for each other. So the younger brother goes on the attack, the older brother cancels it. This, I think, is key for the battle, because ultimately what it does do is free up the opportunity for the other two, as in Leo and Jamon, to go and do other things. I think that's important. Now, this is also going to lead into other things later on, but I think with doing this, we're also, it's interesting because we're also kind of told what people think, and it's dangerous but good at the same time, where, like, how long can you really defend? You have to attack at some point, and that's what they say. And even, like, basically Criminal's younger brothers, like, how long are you going to keep this up? You have to attack at some point. And I like the idea that the author knows that we're going to think something like that, that he understands the fan base, and I think that's a really good point. I think that's something that hopefully will lead to bigger and better things later on down the line. But as it starts, they cancel each other out, which leads to bigger and better things throughout the rest of this chapter. Moving on. Now, let's move on to an interesting section. So this section is about Jamon and Leo versus Snowgirl. And I found this interesting for a few different reasons, because it played out like I thought, as in the ending of their little section was good because she was getting pushed back. It makes sense logically, because if you think about standings, I know standings are a little bit off in the sense of they're only as good as the last time you were given a standing, but they're all intermediates. So if they're, I guess, what would you say, they're C class. So if you look at the power rankings or the scaling where they're supposed to be, they're all more or less where they're kind of similar, but it's 2 against 1. And at the same time, Leo was an intermediate class anyway at the beginning of the story when we got the rankings kind of mentioned in the award ceremony, and he's improved. So it's logical for her to be kind of pressured in this situation. What she does do, though, is she sets up this trap. And this trap was basically to use her snow magic to essentially numb, and the people that get caught in it, like, essentially numb out and lose their senses. What I liked about this was straight away we get to see some application of what Leo has learned. So the Magnus game that they learned on this little kind of short training routine that they did at the volcano has already come into effect straight away. This does 2 things. One, it shows the development straight away is put in use by Leo. But what it also does, it shows how important this match is. Because if you're already having to use something that's meant to be a power-up, it shows that this isn't as one-sided as one would think. It isn't all about Langris. The other characters are putting in work. But she begins to get overpowered. And that's where hopefully we're going to start seeing a little bit more drama, a bit more frustration from Langris inside. How is that going to affect everything? Because although Langris is attacking and he's got his sights set on the crystal, his other team members have to defend. So let's see how this kind of turns out. But it is looking really interesting for this point. So the final 2 points kind of go hand in hand. So I'm kind of going to probably do this all in one section. But we see Finral's new attack, and even he says it's not really an attack. He hasn't developed that yet, which is good. Now you're probably thinking, oh, why is that good? He worked so hard, he changed his hair, he's playing on those memes, but it's good because it shows he still has room to improve. He's not a finished project, or project. He knows he's got room to improve, and he knows he needs to go to that next step. So that shows you being self-aware of your weaknesses. It'll enable him to become stronger later on down the line. That's the key thing to bear in mind, from my opinion. That being said, new attack, I love it. I absolutely love it. Purely because it does something that can change the dynamic of the match. I'll explain. So he throws this new attack, and he's like, oh, what's this supposed to be? It's like a homing attack. Now it catches Seki Bronze, even though he does his defense or whatever that's meant to be. What I loved about it is what happens to him. Seki Bronze is kind of like the joke of the actual show. He starts off being cocky, and Asta gets demolished. He joins this tournament, he's getting demolished, and he gets sent to Yamu, who's on the bog, and he's like, do you want to die? He's like, no, please. I just love that. That's made me laugh. Anytime you see Yami, is funny and it's cool because he's just a dude and he's like a manly man, but him on the bog with his pants down with that guy in front of him, it's like, just kill him already, in a nice way. But it was just funny that happened. Now, coincidentally, is it an irony? I don't know. This infuriates Langris because Langris essentially, like, he goes, so it's like mine. There's similarity. So the similarity is what I want to touch on later on in a bit. But this flips out a Langris, and Langris is like, I've got 1 billion orbs, you've got 1. This is like, that's essentially what it shows you at the end of the chapter, and it's like, okay, what's gonna happen next? Gets you really hyped. This is important because from Finral's point of view, if these, like, that 1 orb is essentially what he's throwing out, this ultimately tells you what it's capable of. So it's kind of like saying you've got this basic move, but with the right kind of training and the right kind of application, you can do devastating things. If it is the same thing, it'll be interesting to see if Finral can do it. At the same time, if it's different, is there something that Finral can apply to make it different also? And how does he surpass that? That's important. To finish this off, you've also got to bear in mind now, with Seki Bronzer out of the equation, it is ultimately a 3 against 2. But at the same time, it's now a case of, can the Snow Magician, whose name I forget, who's also kind of intermediate tier, hold off Jamon and Leo long enough for Langris and Finral, to finish their bout? It's interesting because the odds supposedly isn't in Finral's favour in that fight, but as we've seen time and time again, people of the higher rank are losing to the lower rank people, so there's loads to look forward to. I'm looking for these next few chapters. I'm interested. I want Finral to win, but more interesting, I want him to win in a way that's believable, achievable, and gives room for development and improvement later on. Hopefully Finral's brother can learn some, man. Please stop being such a d-bag. But we'll not get into that, pardon my language. Anyway, that is my reviews. Those are my thoughts. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And bear in mind, when the anime does come out, I will be reviewing it. So please check that out as well, as this will be like a new series I will cover technically. Now, I know in the past I don't always keep up to these, but this one I definitely will. It's something that's near and dear to my heart. I will see you there, and hopefully you'll join me soon. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.